Alright, now let's start taking the transmission apart. We're going to take the slave cylinder out. The bolts on it should be 8mm, if I remember correctly. Now to disconnect this. Probably the best way is to push in on this side and something else. Just make sure it doesn't pop out real quick and end up losing it. Alright, now if I remember correctly how I got this to come out correctly was push this boot back through. Alright, pulled that out. Now I can pull this completely off. Alright, next thing to do is you'll have 4 bolts on the inside of the transmission that you'll have to take apart to break the transmission in half. Now if you look on the bottom side of the transmission, well, how we have it right now, there's going to be a bunch of bolts. Like there's one here, 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 here. They just go around the whole thing. So we're going to have to take those off. now I'm just going to go and make sure I have every single bolt removed. Yep. Alright. Now, I'm just going to start heating up on it at certain places. These edges right here. Hit up here a little bit. Make sure you do not use a metal hammer. Yeah, and just so you know, there's a pin here and then a pin here. They're basically just guide pins. Alright, so I didn't even realize it, but my camera cut off. Anyway, I have the top section of the transmission out. So one thing you want to pay attention to is you have these three or two plastic pieces right here. You don't want to go and sit down on the ground on top of them, because you will end up damaging them. So right here you have a magnet. You'll want to go and clean this. What else? Like right here is the two pins that I was talking about. Another thing I did was I just took a flashlight and looked at all the synchronizers that I could see without having to go and pull each gear shaft out. Next thing that we probably want to do is just clean all the gasket material off from the bottom section, and then the upper section, or the upper half of the transmission. Oh, and another thing. This was already in here. Alright, so this was here, and all I did was basically pull up on this side, and then you can pull it out. One other thing that I never showed was there is a input shaft seal right here. So this thing right here is the seal. So when you're taking this out from the input shaft right here, you just want to be you're taking it out. You just want to be very, very, very careful not to go and damage it. You just want to pull it straight out. Alright, so that'd be a differential held down vise. And you can go and remove all these bolts from the ring here. It's 13 millimeter. Yeah, that's what I forgot to get. Didn't break apart. These bolts are red Loctited in, so it's probably gonna be pretty hard for me to get them off. There we go. Alright. Stay. I'm gonna get the stock, or the stock ring gear off. And there's the Quave differential. And here is the ring gear. Alright, now I'm going to, excuse me. hammer this roller bearing on. Basically, I'm going to try to use this brace and seal installer that I bought. So this right here should just be made out of aluminum. Also, when I installed my coif, I made this this little thing right here. It just basically fits perfectly onto the lip of this right here. But this should also work for hammering them down. I got this from Harbor Freight today, and I'm just basically seeing if it'll actually work or not. I'm just going to start with my plastic hammer. Oh, another thing, you have to make sure that the bearing is nice and clean on the inside, and then the surface around here is nice and clean. And you want to have it on like a piece of wood or something. That way the bottom side doesn't get hurt. Stop every few seconds and just look at it, make sure it's actually going on evenly. With this, you're not going to be able to really apply any pressure or apply the load, or basically applying the hammering, or however you want to explain it, to whichever side that's still up too far. But like with this, it's much easier to go and hit the top of this on whichever side is not going down the most. So I can see that is kind of going on at an angle. I need to fix that before it gets any worse. Straight out a little bit. I guess with this, you could kind of have it positioned off to the side a little bit and try hitting it, but the thing is, if you have this tilted a little bit and then you hit the top of it, just seems to wanna, come back. So. Getting there. Those videos getting a little dark. And the other thing about this is that this is a flat surface on top, whereas this, the inside is actually machined out. That way you can fully hammer this all the way down, because the inside shaft right here, that's part of the differential, is actually going to be sticking up ever so slightly from the lip of the bearing. Just checking to make sure that it's on all the way. I'll continue hitting it a few more times just to really make sure, but it should be all the way down. Get hit with my metal hammer now. Yeah, another thing, when you're hitting this on, you don't want to hurt the plastic bearing retainer, or whatever you want to call it. That should be pretty much it. You can see the differential does stick out just barely a hair. Alright, now it's time to start removing the shaft seals, and then also the race that's on the inside here. So to do this, best way is to heat up the actual case that's around it. Last time I used a propane torch, but this time I'm going to try this heat gun to see how well it works. I never actually used this thing before, so this is all basically a test. It does seem to get kind of hot. Makes you see this orange. It's a little warm. Alright, now what I'm going to do is take a screwdriver and try and beat it out. If it doesn't come out very easily like this the first time, just go and continue hitting it. All I'm doing is sticking the, one second. All I'm doing is sticking the screwdriver between the, it actually has two lips, the seal. Well, actually it doesn't have two lips. It has the this rubber piece, and then it has this metal piece right here. Just go and hit it out. That's out. Alright, now we can try to hammer out this race right here. To do that, it needs to come this way, so we have to go and turn this around. Just be very, very careful with the plastic pieces right here when you flip it upside down. Actually have it on a board, that way it's not laying down on the ground. Alright, and you can see the edge of the race right here. I can heat this up some more. Alright. I'm going to try to put your screwdriver directly on top of the race, and then just hit it out. Another thing is, you don't want to go and be hitting the actual case itself. You just want to be hitting the race. Just go and hit it on either side. It's coming out pretty good. First time you do this, it may be slightly difficult. The best thing to do is just keep a bunch of heat on it. Just keep alternating between each side. Here. You you can see, there's a little cutout area right here. So basically all I'm doing is taking a screwdriver and hitting this area right here. I'm just trying to make contact just with the race. I'm not trying to mar up this case or anything like that. You can see I have chipped it just barely a hair, but I'm just going to keep hitting this out, and it should pop out shortly. You can also see the shim that I have installed. There we go. It's completely out. Alright, and now to remove the seal and the race from the actual transmission gearbox. So remember, you don't want to apply really any heat to the actual seal itself. You just want to be heating up the case. Heat it up some more from the bottom side. remember having some difficulties with this last time I tried to take it out. I just accidentally touched the tip of my my heat gun. It's gonna leave a mark. Alright, now to install the new race into the gearbox side. You want to make sure that all the mating surface is perfectly clean, because we will not be taking this one out again. What else? Make sure you use the race for the correct bearing. They should all be exactly the same, but just to be on the safe side, make sure you're using the race that came with the bearing that's coming on this side. So. Alright, should be clean. You sit it in here. Make sure that the taper is like this. You don't want to put it in like this. I'm going to grab something that's aluminum to go and start hitting it down. This is my bearing installation tool, but I'm just going to use the side of it to go and tap this down. I want to make sure that the one side isn't going down more than the other, and if so, hit the other side. Alright, I probably should go and heat this case up again. It's too cold. It won't fully seat itself down unless if you go and just barely get whatever piece of aluminum that you're using to hit it down just right on the edge, and just hit the remainder down. Feels pretty solid right now. A lot of times you can actually just hear it if it's seated just by the way that it sounds when you're hitting it. Alright, now I'm going to just make sure that this whole thing is fully seated just by using one of my smallest feeler gauges. So the size of this one is let's see here, 0.04 millimeters. I'm just going to try to wedge it in there just to see if it's all the way seated, because it's kind of hard to, just from looking at it at an angle, it actually looks like there is a little bit of a gap, but it doesn't look like there is. Yeah, looks like it's fully seated. Alright, now we need to go and measure how much preload the differential will be needing. To do this, we're going to be installing a measuring shim. When I say a measuring shim, what I mean is we're going to be installing a shim that is of a known size. The sizes that we have available to us is 1.44 millimeters, 1.5 millimeters, 1.6, 1.7, 1.8, 1.9, 2, 2.08, and 2.1 and 2.2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to install a 1.5 millimeter shim, not the very smallest, but the step up above that, and then I'm going to just install the brace, the differential. I'm going to bolt the case together, torque it down to the correct torque spec, and then I'm going to measure how much gap or how much free space is between the shim and the case, and then from there basically I'll be able to figure out how much preload or what the correct size shim that I need to install this the correct size shim that I need to install the differential with. Alright, so before you install your measuring shim, you just want to make sure that it's actually the correct size. So I'm taking my calipers, measuring it, and it's actually showing 1.5 millimeters. When I installed my coif, luckily I just happened to go and measure it just for the heck of it, and one of the shims that they sent me wasn't even the correct size of what it was actually supposed to be. It was a little bit bigger or smaller or something like that. So I have the shim installed now. Now I'll be installing the race in here, but before I do that, I'm going to heat the case up again so that it'll be easier to install it. Alright, so I'm just heating up the case again before I install the race. Actually starting to burn the wood just below the case. install the race. So double check, make sure that it's still clean. Another thing, you do not want to go and fully install this. Alright, there's a decent amount of gap between it. So basically, what I did was I hammered it down until it basically got flush with this part of the case. But there's still a little bit left to where when we bolt the case together, that it will still push this in all the way. Well, not all the way because there'll still be a gap, but it'll push the race in more. Thing is, the reason why we're not installing this all of the way is that if we install it all the way, there's no way that we'll be able to measure it, measure the gap, because there won't be a gap because we're trying to measure it between the shim and the case. All right, now we'll be installing the ring gear onto the differential. You want to make sure that you're installing this correctly and on the right side. If you see, this is the back side of it. There's the front side. You see that this the face of this is machined off. What you're gonna want to do is make sure this is all nice and clean before you bolt it down. You take your differential and set it there. This thing is, pull this up. And I'm just going to install 3 old bolts. Just a temporary hole. Alright, now we're going to install all 10 bolts, new bolts with Loctite. So while we have the old ones in, we're just going to install the 6, or not 6, but 7 right here, and then take these out and then install new ones in their place. So there's a new one with red Loctite. Be sure to put it at the tip, because if you look, the threaded portion will be at the bottom, about halfway down. now just remember that the 3 that are old are going to be right here. Probably mark them or something. Now I'll be able to remember. Alright, now go and replace these with new ones. Alright, now to torque down the bolts on the differential. First I have it in a vise, and also have something to go and pat it, which is my towel. So basically, just go and torque everything down in a star pattern to 61 foot-pounds. You're probably going to have to obviously loosen it up and rotate it to get to the bolts that are actually in the jaws of the vise. Alright, I'm cleaning the gasket material off of the transmission's mating surface right now. And first I just basically used a plastic scraper to try and scrape as much of the gasket material off as possible. Now, just basically using a rag and some carb cleaner right now to try and remove the rest of it. You want the surface to be basically perfect, like a very reflective mirror finish. If you look at certain angles, you can probably still see some residual material on the surface, so you just want to get the whole surface just perfectly clean. It's kind of tedious, but very necessary to get this as perfect as possible before you bolt the transmission halves back together. I'm just going to continue working on this half, and then also on the bell housing half. Oh yeah, and I should probably mention never to go and scrape the mating surface with anything that's metal. No, I wouldn't even try using like a razor or anything like that. Just use something that's plastic. You don't want to go and scratch up the emitting surface. The more scratches you have, the more scratches are going to have to be filled up with the gasket material, and it's more likely to go and cause a leak. So just make sure you just use something that's plastic. Right now, to put the differential back into the case, take it, flip it this way. Make sure that there's no dirt or anything like that, and come at it when you put it in. Come at it at an angle, kind of like this. I mean, not so much, but get the gears lined up first. Push in on them a little bit, and then just drop it down. Now I'm going to install the top half. Alright. You can probably see there's a little bit of a gap, so that's probably about how much we're going to have to pull the transmission down. See a little bit of a gap there. So I'm going to put the bolts in around the differential first. So I can install all the bolts on this side of the transmission. I'm just going to install a few. The most important ones are going to be right around the differential. Alright, now I'm going to torque all the bolts down in a star pattern, or well, a staggered pattern to 30 foot-pounds. And this torque wrench ain't working. Damn it, it's my old one. Don't think that one's going in. It's like 20 is gonna be the magic number. Alright, just to show you exactly where I'm measuring and how I'm measuring this, I'm basically putting the feeler gauge right in here. Wait, hold on. It's hard holding this camera and doing this at the same time. I still can't get it. There. you can see it's basically between the shim and the case, and I'm doing this on either side, so you can actually see the shim is right here, and then the case, which is basically right here. Alright, now that we've actually measured how much gap is in here, I should probably go and explain what preload actually is and what it does. So on the other side, on the bottom side of this, you have a race that's hammered into the case of the transmission. Then you have a bearing that is seated onto the shaft of the differential. So that bearing is in the race. Then up here, same thing. Basically, you have a bearing that is going and riding up against the race, and then you have the shim, that measuring shim that we went and installed, and then you have the transmission case, right? So we installed a 1.5 millimeter measuring shim, and we use our feeler gauges to go and determine that there's roughly a 0.20 millimeter or 0.2 millimeter gap between that shim and the transmission case. So there is roughly a 1.5 or 1.7 millimeter gap between the race and the transmission case, assuming that there is not a shim installed in here. Right, so you have 1.7 millimeters. The preload amount that Ford recommends is 0.2. So we'll be installing a 1.9 millimeter shim into this transmission. Now, obviously, your transmission may be slightly different. You may come up with a different figure. But anyways, what preload is it goes and it actually pushes in onto the bearings. So it's actually removing space, in essence. So if you think about it, there is 1.7 millimeters of space between this race, or the bearing, basically, the race and bearing, and the case. And if you put a 1.9 millimeter shim in here, what's it going to do? It's actually bigger than the gap that's in here. So basically what it's going to do is just go and push in onto the roller bearing. And it just basically just compresses it, and that's that. The reasoning for it is if it's too loose, basically it's just going to, while the differential is turning, it's going to be too loose, and there's going to be a bunch of play in the differential. It could cause issues of like basically causing the ring gear not to mate up with the transmission output shaft, and it could wear out the gears prematurely. It could wear out the bearings prematurely because they're loose, so while they're spinning, they're just kind of bouncing up against stuff and things like that. And the other end of the spectrum, if you put too much of a preload in here, it's going to compress it too much, and basically what happens is it causes too much friction between the actual roller bearings and the race. Too much friction, too much heat. It wears the actual roller bearings out prematurely, and then, then that's that. Your roller bearing is toast thin. So that's basically what preload is. Alright, so next on the agenda is just take the bell housing portion of the transmission apart. So just unbolt everything and then pull it on out. Alright, so I pulled off the bell housing, Now it's time to remove this. Pull that out. Alright, we'll have to reheat this again. Alright, we'll have to reheat this again. Alright, so I have the case warmed up. I'm going to hammer it out. It's kind of like I did with the stock piece. I'm just going to be very, very careful while I'm hitting it. Because I won't mess up the race. And just whenever you're hitting on it, just always be sure to just hit on the edge. Don't hit on the surface that the bearing is going to be riding against. And before you put the correct size shim in, just verify with the caliper that it actually is the correct size. Like I said, I received a shim that was the incorrect size of what it should have been according to the part number. So just gonna look, make sure that there's no dirt or anything in there. Actually, I could probably reheat this real quick. Alright, so I reheated the case. Surface clean. And drop in the correct size shim. And drop in the correct size, or well, the correct race. And begin hammering it down. This case really needs to be reheated. So just basically going to reheat it from the outside. Try not to do it from the inside. Try tapping it in some more. You can actually tap it in all the way. Now, just try not to do that. Put it on the lip, but just be very, very careful that you don't come loose. Actually be all the way down. Sounds like it's bottomed out. Yep, looks like she's bombed out. Alright, before we bolt the transmission back together, I just want to check a couple things. So, you want to make sure that everything is pretty much clean. There's no dirt or anything in here. If you haven't already, you can go and clean the magnet. Just try to make sure everything's in order. After that, make sure that the mating surface of the transmission is still clean. I'm going to go over it once more before I start putting the gasket compound on the surface, and just make sure everything looks good. And now we can go and put the differential in. Alright, now to put the gasket on. This is what I'll be using. Ford says to put a 2mm bead of gasket on here, but I may go slightly larger than that. Alright, when you're doing this, what you're going to be doing is putting everything on this side of the bolt holes, but I'll typically also go around the bolt holes. So when you're doing it, don't come on the edge on the outside while you're doing this. If you do that, then there's not going to be any gasket compound like right here, and oil can go and seep through this hole and through the bolt and end up leaking. So you just always want to do it on the inside. Here we go. And this is very important to get everything correct as far as cleaning the surface and making sure that all this gasket compound is where it needs to be. There's no gaps in the bead. Pay real close attention to this area because there's just not a whole lot of surface area as far as where the cases meet together. This is actually a lot of gasket material, and some of this will push out on the outside, and it will also some push in on the inside. I'm not too worried about it, but alright. Just want to double check everything. Make sure you have enough. There's no gaps anywhere or anything like that. Make sure everything's good. And then put your case down on top of it very gently. begin putting all of your bolts in. Alright, so I've basically staggered the bolts in. I didn't put all of them in. What I'm going to do is just basically tighten them down very slowly in a staggered pattern. That way the case comes down as flat as possible. Basically, you don't want one side to come down and then the other side, you know, to come down. Alright, now to torque all the bolts down, just try to torque them down in a a star pattern, a cross pattern, and torque them down to 30 foot-pounds. Alright, so I just got done torquing down all the bolts. I ran into some problems. I ended up shearing off one of these bolts, and yes, I was using a torque wrench. So I ended up having to get a screw extractor and to get this out. And then I went out and bought some generic bolts to go and replace the one that I sheared off. Say M8 1.25, and then they're 45 long. So I just spent about the past 3 hours going in trying to get the bolt out, because I didn't have a drill, didn't have drill bits, didn't have a bolt extractor, a screw extractor, anything like that. So basically what I think what was happening was it just pulled the bolt, stretched it out before it even got to the 30 foot-pounds of torque, and then it just went and popped. Alright, now that everything's torqued down, you can go and clean up the excess gasket material that came out on the sides. Alright, now it's time to install the shaft seals. So I'm just heating up the case a little bit on the outside. I'm not heating it up on the inside, just doing the outside a little bit. I have my my gasket right here. Alright, now these sometimes may be a little hard to start. So I'm just going to take something that's very soft, like a piece of plastic, flat piece of plastic, and just put it over it and use a like a rubber hammer, plastic hammer, do that, get it started. gentle with it. Alright, and that's that. Alright, so now it's time to install the slave cylinder. So let's put this section in here first. Just gonna have to work the boot to the hole of the transmission. Leave that sit there. Right now, clean off the surface right here, and then also clean off the surface on the slave cylinder and throwout bearing. After that, we'll actually put some more gasket material right around this edge. Alright, I have the gasket material on there now. I just kind of put it on real lightly. Alright, now let's get this sucker back in. We'll probably want to try to connect these two together first. Actually, 1 second. Let's push this back here. That way we have more room to work with. Try and get the boot pushed back in without damaging it. You will have to force it through, but try to be careful with it. Alright. Now, reinstall the bolts, 3 bolts, and then torque them down to 97 inch-pounds. Don't forget the pin that goes into here. Make sure it's all the way in. Alright, now we need to lube the input shaft. I'm just going to use some high temp grease. We'll also be using this on the half shafts when we reinstall them. We just want to put this on very lightly. Don't want a whole lot. This is just so that the clutch disc can go and move up and down on the shaft. Well, it won't be up and down, but just basically slide along the shaft. You don't want too much on here either. Make sure if you get any on your throwout bearing that you wipe it off.